Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And today is September, and today we're going to record episode 13, which I will call What's Hot in the Singapore Property Market Right Now, as of September 2021. And let me introduce myself, as per always.
Director of Outbound Marketing,
Ryan speaking in Iskandar, Malaysia. So my name is Ryan. Nama saya Ryan.
6,000 incoming supply in Johor. This is
I'm writing thank you for attending today's presentation on Iskandar, Malaysia.
Okay, so my name is Ryan Khoo. I'm a Malaysian and I am a Singapore PR. I'm based in Singapore right now. I'm also usually based in Iskandar in JB, but due to COVID, so I've been in Singapore since June. I'm a property investor. I'm also a real estate salesperson in both Singapore and Malaysia. I'm most famous for talking about Iskandar, Malaysia. Back in 2012, 2013, I was a big promoter of Iskandar, Malaysia. And of course, I know some of it doesn't sound too good right now, but it's not all doom and gloom. I do talk about Iskandar, Malaysia in some of my other videos, and why long term I'm still very bullish about Iskandar, Malaysia. I think that don't lose hope. Hang in there. I know it's difficult. And I used to be a speaker for many events by Property Guru, iProperty, The Age. I used to write columns for The Age Property, right? And I've done lots of transactions across Singapore, Malaysia, and Singapore and Malaysia are both the focus markets that I do the most. So if you have not watched my YouTube videos already, I think, or if you are not new to my YouTube, you probably know that I have run a lot of YouTube videos, which I try to be educational and teach about property investing holistically. I think the issue today is there are either too many salesperson or too sales oriented, or and there's not enough proper financial education to look at real estate investment properly holistically rather than just I mean, okay, so that's a long topic. Do watch one of my earlier videos on that if you like. I hope if you like my content, do subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends. And I think I hope to teach you something today about the Singapore market. So today we're going to cover 5 topics, right, in general, right? And the first thing that we'll cover is the statistics, right, which is the boring part, but I think pretty much everybody knows already, just that you want to see in slides, right? So this is from ERA and also by data from HDB. And you can see that actually HDB prices have been on an uptrend since also since COVID, basically, right? I think Singapore has always been one of those property markets where supply demand balance is very tight, right? So it's very easy to tip over oversupply or undersupply easily. And I think COVID is one of those situations where it makes undersupply quite obvious because constructions are late. There are a lot of contractors. You've seen in the news that some contractors are not able to complete their HDB on time. So a lot of demand for HDB has increased. I think we are. I mean, HDB prices have been on a downtrend since I think 2016, right? And for a long time, it was quite common for property agents to say sell the HDB now and quickly move to condo because the dropping lease of HDB issue was an issue because especially as many older HDBs begin to reach, the 60, 70-year balance lease left. But of course, with COVID, right, and the delays in construction of new HDBs, I think this has pushed the demand for HDB up again. And we are back to the era of, cash overvaluation. I mean, COV. I think it was a popular term maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, where people pay above valuation to buy the HDB. That means you have to pay above valuation to buy HDB because it's quite difficult to buy at valuation for HDB. And I think, and that's what's happening again. So people are paying over valuation to get HDBs that they want. So HDB prices have gone up. So kudos to HDB buyers. It also shows that not everything goes down all the time, right? I mean, stories do change, right? So I mean, those people have been saying HDB leases are going to will result in even low HDB prices are proven wrong because HDB prices are doing pretty well right now. The next, of course, is private residential. I think this has been in the news quite a fair bit. Everybody knows that Singapore private property prices have been on an uptrend. I think also due to since COVID, you can basically say that COVID is when the spike more or less picked up again, right? Less in the CCR. And I think there's one trend there which I think is quite important, is that if you notice prices in the core central region, which is the central part of Singapore, District 9, 10, 11, or Orchard Roads and Bukit Timah, didn't pick up as much, right? It's actually pretty much flattish. And the reason is because foreigners are not here. So foreigners are normally a big component of buyers for CCR, and with the borders closed, due to COVID. So foreigners are not here. So CCR prices have remained quite flat. But suburban areas in the RCR and OCR prices have picked up quite a fair bit, right? So I think one way to look at it is actually do look at CCR prices somewhat, because they are looking quite attractive in comparison to RCR and OCR properties in Singapore. So RCR, OCR basically means the outer parts of Singapore, right? But CCR is a core part of Singapore, and you can see that the price differential between the central part of Singapore to the outer parts of Singapore is getting very small, and that makes CCR properties worth looking at, right? Because when borders do reopen and the foreigners come back, you can expect some buying to come back here. So that's one tip for you. Rental rates are also up. I think if you speak on the ground to many people, even where I live here in Pasir Ris, right, there's a lot of grumbling, depending on who you're talking to tenants, they grumble, to landlords, they're happy because rental rates have gone up, right? And you can see, and rental rates going up are normally a precursor to property prices themselves going up. But rental rates are up, and that's generally indicative of strong demand and strong actual demand, right? Occupier demand, and that property prices are supported by some fundamentals because rental is also high, right? So that's the statistics. Okay, now I try to keep my videos simple in the sense that there is one thing that you must try to learn, and the one thing that you must try to learn today, or you must understand what's going on in the Singapore market right now, why prices are going up. I mean, people say COVID is one thing, right? And yes, COVID has been a big push in terms of why property prices in Singapore have gone up, because Singapore's an island, there's a lack of supply, supply is delayed, right? Contractors can't build on time, developers may be forced to delay the completion of their projects, right? We know all those are in discussion right now. But the other big thing I think a lot of people should understand is actually land prices have gone up quite a fair bit, right? So this was in June this year, right? And for an EC in Tengah, right? Now, if you guys have been to Tengah, and probably most of you have not, because Tengah is basically a giant forest right now. It's like Punggol 20, 30, not even 20, 30 years ago, right? 20, 30 years ago, right? So Tengah is like the new Punggol, right? It's a giant site like Punggol where they can build a new Punggol. Some people like to talk about Bidadari, but Bidadari actually is in Potong Pasir, is a lot smaller than Punggol or Tengah. So Tengah will be the new Punggol in the sense that it's a giant site. And even for this place, which is basically a forest, right? There are still forests in Singapore, right? So Tengah is a forest, right? And they paid a record price for EC land here, right? You would think that EC will get record prices in more mature parts of Singapore, but this is the EC record price in Tengah. Wow, which is I guess there are not many EC sites in the first place for sale by the government. So this is one case, right, of land prices pushing I think high. And you know, I used to remember the day when ECs were sold like below 1,000 per square foot. Now ECs all easily 1,000 plus per square foot, right? I mean, but never mind. The other one, of course, is the very famous EC plot, also for the one in Tampines Street 62, and also for Lentor. Lentor basically Ang Mo Kio, off Ang Mo Kio a little bit, right? All this land were also sold at fairly record prices right now. Let me try, and of course another one is recently the Anak Bukit site, right, which is in Upper Bukit Timah, right, where Far East and Sino Group actually won at 1B. Now this site, normally the problem with this site, giant sites, is that there are not many bidders because the amount of cash required by developers is big. So normally smaller developers don't get involved in this kind of white sites. But this one was won by Far East, right? Far East, of course, is a big boy, and 1B, and I'll talk about it later, right? So this was only a few days ago, right? Roughly a week ago, August 30th, right? So if you look now, this chart may seem a little bit fuzzy to you, right? There's a lot of information on this slide, right? But what they're trying to do here, right? This column, right, represents median prices of projects launched in the first half of 2021. Okay, I repeat, first half of 2021 median prices, right? And they do it by district, right? This slide also by ERA. And if you look at this is half 2021. These are estimated launch prices. Of course, some of it has already launched at Water Gardens, has already launched around 1450 PSF median actually. So these are project launches to be expected in the second half of this year, right? And these are project launches. This column is project launches for next year or 2023. Now, what they're trying to explain to you from this slide is you can see prices going up. Now, first half this year, ECs were generally sold at 1161, and we're trying to see that Park Greenway should be around here, And next year, right, based on the land prices, as I mentioned, the Tengah EC just now and the Tampines Street 62 EC just now, prices are going to go up roughly another 14% of what Park Greenwich will be, right? And similarly, you can look at here, right, prices that in 2022-23, right, even second half of 2021 are going to be higher than what you have in the early of this year. Okay, basically you see this is the jump prices. The arrows represent the jump in prices, and a lot of it is basically just land price. So developers are paying more and more for land, right? And you can start to see that there's not enough land size. I think we are waiting to see whether URA will release more land, right? But URA is in the catch-22 situation. You release more land, but developers can't complete projects in time because construction costs have gone up. There are delays in construction due to COVID. So URA also don't know whether they should release more land or not, right? But if they don't release more land, you have this situation of not enough land, and developers are still willing to pay extra prices for higher prices for land. So based on this alone, right, new land prices now, you can see that Ang Mo Kio next year will hit 2,000 per square foot, which was probably not expected for a long time. So Ang Mo Kio, right, to have a 2,000 per square foot property sometime next year, right, or depending on when the developer launch, right. So what we're trying to say is that land price will push up, and the other effect of this is you see some en bloc process going on again. Some older buildings are coming off en bloc again because they're hoping through en bloc they can find a developer to buy. A developer who is hungry for land now. So that's a tip number 2, right? That land prices will push projects up. One way to buy is to buy at projects which have been their land price was clinched at an earlier date. Now let me give you an example. Example number 1, Barley View. Now Barley View is launching pretty soon. This project is at Barley, right? It's by freehold, right? A local Singaporean developer. Now Barley View is here. I mean, they have an odd shaped plot here. Barley MRT is not very far away. Where's Barley MRT? Somewhere here. Barley, somewhere here is a Barley MRT, right? And there have been a few projects here in the past. Of course, the first one was Barley Residences, right? And Barley Ridge, Botanic, and Barley. All these have already DOP already completed. So Barley View is the latest one, right, in the Barley vicinity, right? Now let me show you what I mean earlier by land price. That you buy projects which land price was clinched a little bit earlier, so that you benefit from the upcoming land price. Now, example. Now Barley View was sold. This GLS, the land sale, was done in January 2020, right? So just around COVID started, before COVID, and the developer we paid 885 per square foot, right? So if you look at 885 per square foot, right, and you think about what other land prices have happened in the later part of 2020 and 2021, land prices have even higher, and many in OCR location. Now Barley View, right, is actually considered RCR just outside of core region, right? It's not even, it's city fringe, right? So RCR is like city fringe. So CCR is city center. So RCR is like city fringe. So OCR is outside the city, right? So if you look at those land prices in 2020 and 2021, right, a lot of them, some of them are OCR locations outside of the concentration, and they paid even higher than what Barley View paid. So if you look at this from a chart, right, look at it from the chart. Okay? So Barley View is here, 885. Okay, which it's a outside, it's a city fringe location, right? And you have some projects here, Tanah Merah, Ang Mo Kio, Lento, all these are outside, and they pay even higher, 930, 1001, 1002, right? So by virtue of land price alone, Barley View is already in the money because it's more central, city fringe location, right? And cheaper land price wise compared to what these other developers paid later part of the year and in the year following 2021. If you even compare to some of these, and these are all OCR, even further in ECs, right? So of course they'll be cheaper, right? But from this alone, you can see that Barley View already has some advantage in terms of land price because it was bought at an earlier land price and hence cheaper than what developers paid last year in later half of 2020 and of course early 2021. But another example, case study 2, Foret Bukit Timah. Now Foret Bukit Timah is freehold. Okay, it's an en bloc project actually. This developer Qingjian, they buy an en bloc. It used to be a Good Luck Gardens, right, in Upper Bukit Timah. Beautiful, beautiful project. I mean, I love Gula Gardens, but I mean, it's no longer there, so it's replaced by, it's been torn down, and now there's Foret at Bukit Timah. Now, Foret at Bukit Timah was bought by Qingjian, the land, in 2018. Okay, they bought this in 2018, so even further back. Okay, so I give you an even further back example, 2018 and freehold, right? And if you look at land price, it's around 3,000, 1,002 per square foot. Okay, for this developer, 1,001 per square foot freehold, Upper Bukit Timah freehold. So it's not that bad. We're not considering that it's freehold, right? And if you look at again, similarly, if you look at other freehold sites in Singapore launching, they are at a better price because they were bought sometime back in 2018. A lot of these projects that you see here are also freehold, but at land prices later, after what Good Luck Garden, after what Foret at Bukit Timah was bought at. So if again, the trick now, or the tip I'm trying to say is, look at projects where the land price was secured maybe 1, 2, 3 years ago, where the land prices were cheaper. And by virtue of land prices were cheaper, today comparing to the future launch in end of this year or 2022, 2023, you are already in the money. If can, ideally, the best is you got a next door kind of comparison. If you cannot, at least, I mean, something apple to apple-ish, right? So like the example I gave you earlier, right? Far East won this site, which is just 600 meters away from Foret, right? This site, which is won by Far East, which only announced about a week ago, right? And their price is 989 per square foot, compared to Foret Bukit Timah, let's say 1,002, right? And Foret Bukit Timah is only 600 meters away by freehold. So the 300 PSF differential for freehold, I think is very, very good, considering that this project by Far East is 99 year, right? And it's a giant mixed development. And before you can walk, right, to the area, and you are freehold. So I think it's also a good buy, in the sense that the PSF differential is pretty fair, pretty good, right, to go in, right? Just because Foret was bought 3 years earlier, land price, right? And case study number 3, Sengkang Grand. And Sengkang Grand, actually Sengkang Grand also, when it first launched, some people thought it was expensive, right? Sengkang Grand is at Buangkok, right, which is Sengkang, right? But Buangkok is considered Sengkang, right? So Buangkok MRT, on top of Buangkok MRT, is a big plot of land by prime developer, CapitaLand and CDL joint venture, and they're going to be a mixed development, full integrated development, not just full integrated development, right? And they won it in 2018 also, 923 PSF. Okay, Sengkang Grand 923% not cheap, right? Actually, and I can tell you, actually back in 2018, when CapitaLand won at this price, a lot of people also thought, 923 not really cheap, right? But today, because of new land price, again, 923 actually doesn't look that expensive anymore, right? And some of you may recall that I did a video about Pasir Ris 8, right, a few weeks back. And the reason why I said Pasir Ris 8 was also potentially a very good buy was Pasir Ris 8 even lower, lower, right? So Pasir Ris 8 had like this margin for developer to sell them cheap, right? And if you compare the differential between Sengkang Grand and Pasir Ris 8, right, all things being equal, right, since both projects are similar in the sense they are full integrated development, right, you can see that the price differential is not very big after all. And actually, Pasir Ris 8 has actually hit over 2,000 PSF. Some buyers paid over 2,000 PSF for Pasir. This is the median, 1,617, right? But Sengkang Grand, actually, the median is still roughly about 1,700. So I think Sengkang Grand still has units. So actually now, by virtue of Pasir Ris 8 pushing the prices up to 2,000 per square foot, now Sengkang Grand actually look okay, not expensive by comparison, considering that you will get a integrated development project, right? If you think about it, the angle. So this is case study number 3, right? So what I'm trying to do is I show you some ideas, right? But the idea that I'm trying to say is that look at projects where the land prices are a couple of years back, right, secured at lower land prices compared to what land prices are today, that will launch projects in the future, and you will really win by virtue of that alone. Better if you can compare apple to apple, something nearby, where against whatever new GLS is happening. But it doesn't have to be that. I mean, but by virtue is that you can go look at older projects. And the other thing about older projects, you may run into those short-term discounts. Some developer may throw certain star buy just to sell, just to get a bit of sales momentum, right, from that project, right? So you may still get a good buy at some of these older projects. I can recommend you some. What do you think? I think Foret is my preferred pick right now. I think in that sense, I think for it. It's pretty fair. Right? I can recommend you some. If you contact me, I can tell you what I think are good buys in that sense of this land price differential, right? So that's what I mentioned here, right? So Pasir Ris 8, I believe Pasir Ris 8 was as per my video, I think anything below 1,007 I thought would be a fair buy. Although the median is 1611, but actually there are a lot of buyers who did buy above the median. Of course, a bit of good luck to them, because don't know whether they overpaid. Seems like they overpaid a bit, but yeah, hard to say. So I think Sengkang Grand also is a potential buy in that sense, right? So okay, so that's the one thing you must learn today. Okay, next thing you must learn. En bloc effect. Now, some people ask me, Ryan, how come there's so much money around Singapore? Are these Singaporeans who earn so much money that they can buy property like, because it's not cheap, right? I mean, Singapore property is not cheap, right? Most people right now in their lifetimes can only buy one, two, I mean, on the average, right? I mean, unless you make a lot of money. And I want to explain why this happens is because of something called the en bloc effect. Now, a few years ago, you may have heard there was an en bloc trend where a number of owners from older projects, they managed to sell their land, their properties en bloc to a developer. So en bloc means 80% of the owners in the building agree to sell, and by that, when they agree to sell, so a developer buys over the land to redevelop the land. Okay, so back in 2018, right, there was a lot of en bloc money going on, and roughly, if you look at Singapore, it's about $20 billion was sent back into the market. So two things happen. Number one, the owners become richer because developer normally pay a good price to buy the en bloc. Number two, these owners got kicked out of their house because their house was sold, right? So they need to find new place to stay, right? So if you look at 20 billion and you assume the households, right? So like what this slide says, each household got $3 million, right? And over 6,900 displaced households. And I think what you're seeing today, one reason why Singapore prices have gone up is because with COVID effect some more. Okay, I got money and I got no place to stay, and COVID made me even more want to find a place to stay because it's tough to stay, because you stay home all the time during COVID, right? So you need to find a proper house to stay. COVID has triggered my decision to finally buy, right? So this is a table just to show you, right, how much money, right, and the potential buyers that will appear, right, that from the en bloc situation, right? I mean, I won't go into detail, but basically, like what I said earlier, 3 million per household got the money, so they 3 million cash. So a lot of them probably have paid down their loans to some level, right? So this 3 million, they can buy a lot of house. Okay, they can buy a lot of house. So actually, this money is so-called recycled. Developer buy the land from them, and then people go back and buy a new house, maybe from the same developer, for you know, right? But the money recycled back into the market, right? So, and one more thing you must understand, right? A lot of this en bloc money, right? Although the en bloc happened in 2018, and this slide assume that you get the money 6 quarters later because of the process of the en bloc sale, right? A lot of this money entered back into the owner's pocket back in 2019 quarter 3. Okay, so I got my en bloc money, my $3 million in 2019 quarter 3. So give or take, 6 months later we enter COVID, and I got no place to stay, but I got a lot of money in my pocket. So what do? I buy house. I need a place to stay, man. COVID forced me to work from home, right? I cannot go out, I cannot travel, I cannot go overseas, right? I want to invest overseas also, I don't know, I can't go overseas right now. So what happened? All this money flow back into the Singapore property market. Okay, so that's one more thing I think which is a quite interesting story for people to understand why Singapore, there's so much liquidity to buy property in Singapore as well. Something that's easy to understand, en bloc effect. Okay, next, COVID-19 effect. Okay, now I'm going to talk about COVID-19 effect to some level. So COVID-19 has hit us in early of 2020. We are now entering the second year. I mean, a lot of economic destruction. Singapore government spent a lot of reserves to bolster the economy. Otherwise, a lot of people will lose their jobs. A lot of businesses will close down. I mean, Malaysia has fared in a way much worse. A lot of countries have fared worse. Actually, Singapore has done pretty well. I think that's also due to Singapore government reserves and also the government willingness to take decisive action during this period, right? And one thing I want to share is that why COVID-19 has also caused another issue is called construction delays, right? And because you can't get foreign workers in, material costs have gone up. So some contractors building HDBs, right, have actually gone bankrupt, right, and they cannot complete. And actually the issue now is there more, right? One main con, Great Earth, his name is called Great Earth, has declared they got problem. We don't know whether they are more. If they are more that go belly up during this period, HDBs will get delayed. I've heard stories people supposed to get HDB now delayed by 2 years, 3 years. the HDB completion, right? That is a problem, right? Because people can't get houses and they'll be forced to rent or forced to buy resale or forced to buy private property, rent longer periods. So that's why rents are going up for one. That's one reason why resale prices are going up, right? These are the reasons, right? And so COVID has caused this impact to the property market because construction is delayed, right? And that affects property prices, right? So another thing to take note is during this period, we have a lot of HDBs that are getting MOP, fulfilling the MOP. MOP is the minimum occupation period, right? When you buy a BTO, build to order HDB from HDB, right? You have to stay the HDB for 5 years before you're allowed to sell it, right? And move to another house. So a lot of these BTO are getting their 5-year MOP fulfilling this condition, right? Around 2019 to 2022. So again, plus on block, plus COVID, right? And plus all these HDB people are fulfilling their MOP, their 5-year MOP, right? MOP, right? Now you have an avalanche, a lot of units who all say, hey, now I can sell my HDB and buy private property. Should I? Right? Like so, and they have to they can finally go around to make a decision, and this create another big long chunk of buyers. So you can see it's almost like a perfect storm. Why Singapore property prices have gone up, right, in these few years is because a lot of these conditions, whether intentional or not intentional, appeared at the same time, right? so yeah, so my 2 cents on the way forward. Let me end my presentation. So Singapore prices actually today is in uncharted territory. We are at the highest ever index wise. I think yeah, highest wise index ever. And normally as an agent and as salespersons and property investors, we always question ourselves at this thing. But Singapore prices have defied expectations in the sense that they keep growing higher, even though there's a downturn. Whenever a downturn happens, right, like after 2013, 2014, that time, the downturn is pretty shallow, right? And the new highs have been higher than the previous highs. The lows have been higher than the previous lows, right? So the market has not crashed per se, right? So and we always agent. I have to be very honest as salesperson all the time. We always ask ourselves, wow, this price can or not? I mean, but we've been proven wrong many times. I mean, prices have been pretty resilient, right? And I think another thing that they have kept moving up. So I mean, they have not disappointed in that sense, right? And of course, Singapore during the COVID period has held very well. I think generally unemployment has been kept pretty low compared to many other countries, and the impact of COVID has not been that bad to the average Singaporean. And I think that makes Singapore, there's many reasons for that. I think we all know Singapore has a very stable government, stable politics, and growth has been maintained, stability, and a lot of people like that, right? In a time when the world is having a lot of issues, I mean, Singapore has been quite resilient. So I think that's the reason why people have been willing to put more money into Singapore real estate as well. And I think that will not change. I think that will not change in Singapore. Singapore will continue to be a beacon of stability and a beacon, a place where people see wealth preservation is possible, right? To maintain welfare. And I think that's why lots of rich people put their money in Singapore, right? So I hope I hope you enjoyed my video today. And if you have any comments, please do leave a comment on my YouTube below. And if you like what I've shared today, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel or share. And I hope you enjoyed my video on Singapore property today. And if you want to find out what are good deals in Singapore, you can contact me and at my number here below, right, or on my email, and we can chat further about what is possible for you to do. Thank you very much.